Initiation, a rite of passage, the beginning of a man's independence. For centuries, cultures throughout the world provided specific rituals through which boys become men, rites that give rise to manhood. To be a man meant to become a man. But if you pay attention to the way this works today, friend, you will notice a change for the worse, and you will conclude that there is an absence of adequate rites of passage. One of the appeals to this shift is obvious. Hardship gets to be skipped, yet a new dilemma appears. The disengagement from the initiatory pathways into manhood enhances a man's psyche's hunger for such an initiation, while at the same time removing its access to it. When our culture ceases to provide meaningful and specific pathways into manhood, the individual is left to initiate himself. This creates a great danger that can be observed easily in the kinds of initiation to which many young men turn. Street gangs, drugs and alcohol, high-risk sports, militarism, fellowship to cult leaders, obsessive workplace competition, serial sexual conquests, and many more. This happens because a man's need and unconscious desire for initiation cannot go away. A boy becomes a man only through ritual and effort, and if the ritual is removed, and if the elder men are not doing their job, they are disrupting the continuity between generations of men, while at the same time leaving women with the tasks that are not rightly theirs to perform. Without clear rites of passage, modern culture faces a crisis of manhood, because the male psyche finds no true substance in pseudo-rituals such as street gangs and group associations. As men, we seem to have lost the rite of initiation, and yet young men have a great need to be introduced to manhood. In ancient times, a boy used to be taken away from his parents at a young age and introduced completely into the instinctive world of men, which meant a sharp break with both parents. You see, friend, the fault of the modern family is not so much that it's crazy and full of double binds. This is the human condition. The issue is that the son has a difficult time breaking away from the parents' field of influence, especially the mothers, and in our times there is simply no provision for a young man's initiation. Older societies recognized that a boy becomes a man only through ritual and effort, and strongly believed that he must be initiated into the world of men. Such a process doesn't happen by itself just because a young man eats cereals in the morning, and only men can do this work. We tend to picture initiation as a series of tests that a young male goes through, but there is more to that. The initiation phase is a ritual filled with symbols and meaning, when older men together welcome the younger man into the man's world. There is a story about an African tribe that has a specific initiation ritual every year. When a young boy is ready to be welcomed in, he is taken away from his mother and brought to a special place away from the village. He fasts for 3 days. On the third night, he finds himself sitting in a circle around the fire with the older men. Hungry, thirsty, alert and frightened, he is cut just a little on his arm with a knife by one of the older men, while a drop of blood drops into a bowl. Each man in the circle opens his arm with the same knife as the bowl goes around. This practice symbolizes to them the acceptance of the young man into the world of men, where he is treated as an equal. The young boy learns through this that there is a kind of nourishment and acceptance that comes not from his mother, but from men, while also learning that the knife can be used for other purposes besides killing others. After this ritual, the older men teach him the myths, the stories, the legends that carry male values, not only fighting values, but spiritual values as well. Today, there is no access to the initiation rites of the past, since in many cases there is no access to the older man, the father, and young men are left alone to try to make their own instinctive initiation. Because the father is missing, many young men are faced with a life full of confident and experienced women who place a premium on vulnerability, gentleness and sensitivity. Yet this kind of experience leaves a hole, since the lack of connection with one's father or an older male mentor leaves this young man empty, fragile and oversensitized. Separation from the mother is crucial. It is not that women have been doing the wrong thing necessarily. The problem is that in most cases the men, the fathers, the older mentors are absent or are not doing their job. Women cannot initiate men. It is impossible. A young man needs, besides the care and gentleness received from his mother, some sort of toughness, discipline or hardness, and the young man's longing for the father figure must be honored. You see, friend, initiation is built in the male experience, and it is going to be there whether the father is present or not. Many nowadays feel their need for initiation through sports or the military, since both these activities have an initiatory framework, but in many cases these initiation frameworks lack continuity and direction. Male initiation is supposed to be repeated in the sense that different parts of ourselves go through the experience time and time again. Sometimes we are on the initiate side, other times on the initiating side, and the purpose of such a process is to initiate all aspects of one's manhood into life, one at a time. Do your best, friend, to understand that part of such a continuous initiation process is physical, and you can get that to some degree in sports and other activities. But you also have the emotional initiation, in which trials and calamities are used to intensify the emotional experience, as well as the mystical initiation, in which you get in touch with your spirituality. As challenging as it may be in our modern times to find mentors and older men that you can look up to, remember that there is an extremely strong desire in you as a man to be initiated, and if this initiation is not done with a direction and purpose, you might end up embracing pseudo-rituals, like driving around uselessly at 200 kilometers per hour, joining street gangs or becoming obsessed with drugs and alcohol to try to cover that need. So tell me, friend, have you ever longed for something more, wondering, is that all there is to my life? Were you ever instinctively driven to make a significant life-changing change? If your answer is yes, I can only hope that you have by your side an older man guiding you through the process so that you can get the best results out of it. We all have ingrained the need for initiation into manhood. I dare you to listen to that need and pursue its calling, looking up to honorable men and allowing them to direct you into manhood. If there is any immortality to be had among men, it is certainly only in the actions and the legacy that we leave behind, and we can only do that by sharing whatever we know with the ones looking for answers, pushing them beyond their current state and teaching them how to be mature men. I dare you to become the man that you would admire, so that one day someone else will look up to you for answers.